Welcome to House of Horns. My name is Victor Corona, and I'm joined today by our special guest, not a special guest, but Gilbert Manzano, NFL staff writer for Sports Illustrated. You got to see this game, Gilbert. I got to see this game. Uh, it was a very, very just terrible loss for the just to put it plain and simple for the Rams. What were your reactions to this game?
First of all, my reaction was that I am I not special enough to be a special guest? But then I thought about it. I am not a guest. I
You're
am
a
a host,
host.
but I am a guest for the post game show this week. It is my first one, and unfortunately for the Rams, it's not under better circumstances, I guess you could say, because it was an ugly game, and it reminded me of my beat reporter days. The one season I covered the Rams in 2022, they were awful with protecting Matthew Stafford, and they went back to that. It felt like, hey, what's going on here? Because even with the Bengals, they were 0-2 a year ago. They probably felt like they were 2022. They got their win, and they're back to being a playoff team. The Rams, they couldn't protect Stafford. 6 sacks, 2 interceptions by Stafford. Ugly game all around. And Victor, the thing that I was, a little impressed with, the defense was holding it down. They're like, okay, Burrow, you can't push your calf, you can't throw down the field, so we'll give you the little short passes here. You make the mistake for this long game they're going to do here, and turned out the Rams were making the mistake. So a little bit kind of irony right there for this terrible Week 3 game for the Rams.
Yeah, it was not a pretty game. I mean, they were 0 for 10 on third down. It just seemed like, believe it or not, it looked like Sean McVay got out coached by Zach Taylor in this game.
Yeah.
And then I got to give credit to the defensive coach for the Bengals. He just kept dialing up, and playing. He out coached McVay, unfortunately, and some of the mistakes were just you can't do that on the road. Some of the things you saw today, and I mean, we knew that the offensive line was eventually going to open up things in terms of they weren't going to hold up the whole season. And they finally, had a bad game, but they were still in this game. And I just thought some of the decisions late in the game I didn't understand that, Gilbert. I didn't understand kicking the ball with 6 minutes to go. I just, I know we'll get into it, on Compas on the beat, but like some of the coaching decisions this weekend just kind of bleeded into Monday Night Football with Sean McVay, and it's something we rarely see from Sean McVay. So it was just I didn't understand some of the decisions, and I think that was part of the reason they lost this game. I mean, yeah, they scored that touchdown late in the game to make it 19-16, but like I know they're one score games and it looks nice, but I think this is a game where you have to be very critical of Sean McVay. We praised him the first two games, but in this game, I think he was the reason they lost this game.
Yeah, this final score was definitely deceiving. When it was 10 points, the disadvantage here, it felt like they needed like 20 points to get back in the game. Like they just couldn't get anything offensively. And you're right, Victor. There is some kind of weird, questionable decisions from Sean McVay here. Yeah, not scoring in the red zone. The red zone problems in the first half really contributed to letting the Bengals hang around in this game. They could have, easily created a cushion here. And Raheem Morris had a I guess a good enough game plan where to say, hey, just take all the little dump offs. That's okay here. And the Rams offense never capitalized on that momentum they had while the Bengals were trying to figure it out. But I don't want to lose my point here. The point is when they made that rally, which kind of came out of nowhere, I thought they had no chance. And then here we are. Suddenly they're in a go to go situation. Why are you running the ball? I think it was with Kyron Williams when it's like a minute 30 to go, and the broadcast immediately pointed out, what are you doing? You killed 30 seconds on the clock by running the football. Why don't you throw the pass to Tutu Atwell a play earlier to save you time? That was really weird. And this is just my personal beef here. I'm tired of the onside kick. It never works. Can we get rid of the onside kick? Can we do the freaking fourth down play for 4th and 30 from your own 20? Because the onside never happens. You never have a chance here. So even with that, it was slim to nothing here for the Rams to win the game. But yeah, midway through the fourth quarter, why are you punting that football? It's 2023. You don't do that nowadays. So it was a very bad play calling or decision making for Sean McVay. And yeah, it could easily have been 21-6 at halftime. So red zone miscues. And then what was going on with Matthew Stafford not being able to throw a swing pass to Kyron Williams? It was like either over his head or just on the ground, and you get into the red zone and they couldn't operate, and it was just weird that it was Stafford making the mistakes. He couldn't put touch on it, so overall it was just a very clunky game for the Rams, which they were in it. They were shorthanded, losing linemen, didn't have Cooper Cup, a very inexperienced defense, but they were in that game. The Bengals were so rusty they couldn't figure it out. Like at one point, Victor, I think the Bengals were averaging 3 yards per play. So that tells you they were doing a good enough job defensively. But after a while, they're going to get burned.
Yeah, and I just want to give a shout out to Daniel Calderon, who, he's in the comments. He's letting us know. He said, they were 0-3 in the red zone, and it should have been 21-6. And then he also says the defense played a damn near perfect game. And to your point, Gilbert, he's right. Like, what more can you ask for this defense? And nobody expected a lot out of this defense this season, and they stepped up. Like I told you, Gilbert, before the season, I think Raheem Morris is finally has his type of players in there, and they're running his type of scheme. And I get it. Burrow wasn't right today, but still, they they still put up a good game plan in order to stop, Burrow. If it was, and then Mixon didn't get going till towards the end, and even after he got going and he scored that touchdown, they still were, getting him for tackles for loss later in the fourth quarter. I just do not understand, and I'll go back to it. I didn't understand them punting with 6 minutes to go, and because then you're in a two possession game. You need to be more aggressive at that point. But the only praise I can give for this game is the defense, and you can't blame Raheem Morris anymore, like everybody did last season. I think this game is on Sean McVay, and
Yeah.
it's gonna happen. We just we expect Sean McVay to outcoach every other coach that he goes up against. But unfortunately, one of his pupils got the better end against him tonight, I
Yeah.
should say.
Yeah, and yeah, again, back to the credit for Raheem Morris, and it looks like Puka is getting figured out. Maybe a little bit. I know the stat line's a little deceiving because he got that long reception towards the end, which made it a decent game. But it was just like it felt like this offense just dug themselves a hole overall, and you couldn't overcome it. But I want to highlight the defense with Raheem Morris because you know when you're playing this kind of you back off the receivers, you're gonna give up a bunch of plays, and down in the lower part of the field, 5-10 yards for like the first half, Victor, Joe Burrow refused to go downfield. He wouldn't throw. He wouldn't get baited. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna be patient here. But the thing that was pretty impressive for this Rams defense, even with all the DBs going back, and you're not bringing in like a lot of blitz, you're still getting pressure. Kobe Turner, the rookie, with Aaron Donald, that was a nice little duo there. And they kept they kept collapsing the pocket, pushing the pocket, and they broke free. I'm sure the Bengals were not happy to see Joe Burrow take that massive hit before halftime. And that was one of the plays that I really liked because Joe Burrow got a little greedy. He got impatient, so he started going downfield, inaccurate a couple times. But then he had a couple, plays where like, okay, I'm feeling myself, and the Rams perfectly timed it, a drop back, boom, a sack before halftime. So the mind games were working for Raheem Morris and the young defense, but the offense couldn't do anything. And yes, onside kicks are terrible. Leave them in college. Don't do them in the NFL.
Robert Smith with the comment there. Ouch.
Yeah.
Onside kicks are for
Is it
college.
Robert Smith from the Vikings or the running back there? That'd be nice to have on the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything about this game was so frustrating. But it was nice to see Kobe turning, doing his thing with Aaron Donald. I forget, Victor, but I know Aaron Donald left for a little bit. Did he ever come back? I
Yeah, he
didn't.
did come back.
Okay.
He was out for two plays, and then he came back for that third down, and then yeah, he was in there for that stop. So yeah,
Yeah,
he was
he was
fine.
having a great game. That push that they were creating was fantastic. But other than that, and going back to the Puka comment, like this guy's a fifth round rookie. Like he can't do everything himself every single week. And I go back to like you mentioned, Sean McVay, Stafford with two interceptions. Like your veteran leaders who are supposed to be the guys helping the young guys were actually the ones that were failing the Rams today.
Yeah, and I'll go back to the defense in terms of, Byron Young. And as you pointed out, that stun was great between Kobe Turner and Aaron Donald on that sack. That, they got half a sack there. And then again, one of the guys I highlighted, on our preview was Byron Young. he was really good today. Another half sack. I don't. He's had at least half a sack in each game. So far he's paying dividends for this Rams defense. Um, as we talked about, and then also Gilbert talking about this defense. We haven't even mentioned. We're 10 minutes in. They got their first takeaway
Oh yeah,
tonight. With the Kilo Witherspoon.
that was nice.
And that was a great pick there too. So just shout out to the defense. I know we'll get to the Rams offense. I'll go over some stats just real quick. Gilbert, Stafford was 18 of 33 for 269 yards, one touchdown and two interceptions. For me, as I told you before when we previewed this game, I thought they needed to run the ball. They did not run the ball. They only got 10 carries for 38 yards from Kyron Williams. They're gonna have to go and get a running back in free agency or something, during this week or some. They need to bring in somebody that can, like kind of like a Bruce, or somebody who can take up, these tough runs, because Kyron Williams is good. He's just not going to be able to sustain it for, a full game, and so he just needs help. And then receiving wise, Puka, as you talked about, Puka Nakua is still lead. He still has the record for most receptions after 3 games, even with the 5 he had today for 72 yards. And then it was good to see Tyler Higbee get involved today. Five receptions for 71 yards. And then I I know you were critical before the season, but I just want to get your thoughts on Tutu Atwell, because he had another good game. 4 receptions, 50 yards, and he had the lone touchdown for the Rams.
Yeah, he one of the blunders from the red zone. Like unfortunately he couldn't stay on bounds, right? On that nice, was it the end around, right? He was a running play, and I thought he was in, but after watching like 8 different replays, but he is learning, he's sealing the edge.
Byron Young.
Byron Young. Uh and yeah, I thought that was a good play, and maybe that could have been a difference maker there if he got in there, because they got a field goal right after that. It was 3-0. But I wanted to see more of it. It kind of like, again, like this game really reminded me of 2022. It was like, okay, a couple jet sweeps for 2-2, maybe one long play for 2-2, which he got right. It was like 37 yards on a reception there. Yeah, it does suck they called back that 2-2 touchdown.
I
Like,
and they got hosed on 2 calls, Gilbert. I thought the first interception looked like the ball touched the ground and on Stafford, and then the
yeah,
2-2, as Daniel Calderon on the comments is letting us know, sucks they called back the 2-2 TD. It didn't look like he was out of bounds. I don't know. I thought it was clean. Even on the
yeah.
broadcast, they thought it was clean, and
Yeah, I'm
I
not
didn't
I'm not
understand.
sure there was like his footage where like, it was for sure like decisive. Okay, I could tell like he's out of bounds. And then was it really a touchdown on the field? Like usually you stick with it, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that was a little strange there, because I didn't see anything that said otherwise. I could see it was very tough to tell that was the case there, but who knows if that would have made a difference or not there. But maybe you get a touchdown on that early in the drive. It might have been the opening drive. I'm already blanking, but you feel good about that. You get a touchdown. You
Yes.
don't feel like, oh, let one get away, where Stafford's misfiring with Kyron Williams. And going back to the running game, he had 10 carries. Like I wanted to see more there. Like it wasn't like a game where they fell behind 20 points and they had to throw the ball, a bunch of times there. Like you run the football, you throw off, the defense there from always rushing you and getting six sacks there. So, you know, I'll read this one from Daniel here. You can see Matt LaFleur offense mind working on some plays. I think he would be great if we can keep him longer than a year. Yeah, there's been some good creativity there. Like I like the way they use Puka, and I like the way they use Tutu. But today it felt like very minimum. Like it was a lot of Tyler Higbee and a lot of pressure on the offensive line. Again, and receptions by Matthew Stafford. It reminded me of 2022. Like you didn't see more of it. Like when Kyron and Puka and Tutu were balling out the first 2 games of the year, you saw a lot of it. It was consistent. You're attacking down the field, but I guess it was one of those games where like you needed like a Cooper Cup or better protection at least to bail you out.
Yeah, and I know the offensive line didn't hold up. You had 2 injuries tonight, I should say, with Joe Boom leaving the game for a few plays. He came back later on, with a knee problem, and then Alaric Jackson got, he left with a, it sounds like a tight issue, and then you had we were talking about when I heard Zach Thomas. I thought of
Yeah.
the Dolphins middle linebacker from back in the day. So, um, yeah, and I, when like the Bengals started working that side of the field with Hendrickson, and that allowed them to get the couple of sacks on that side, but they were also going through the other side with Hubbard. So, I mean, it was just a tough night for the Rams all around. Bad. It was just like we talked about. Just the coaching wasn't there tonight, and it was a perfect opportunity to go on the road and win a game. And I think that's the biggest frustration with Ram fans tonight. It'll be that is that you had Burrow on one leg pretty much, and you couldn't pull out a win. And when you depend on your coach to be able to outsmart the other, coaches around the league, you can win these games, and tonight it wasn't it Sean Sean McVay. He probably had one of his worst coaching nights of his career.
Yeah, I haven't done my tally yet, but I'm sure I had a rough week personally picking games in the NFL this week. There was a lot of upsets, and I was like, okay, if I get like the Eagles and the Rams and my picks, like I'll do well. I got one. The Rams let me down, so I'm gonna look after we're done here in House of Horns. But there's a lot of upsets. I don't want to get sidetracked, but yeah, the Cardinals and the Texans being among them. But what is going on with Van? Had that one running play, right? He had something where I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
he
there he
and he
is.
had yeah, he had a running he had a jet sweep, and then he also had caught a pass later on. But yeah, they got him a little bit more involved. Matthew Stafford missed him on another throw. I thought that was, it was he wasn't going to be, that was more on Stafford than it was on Van Jefferson. But I thought just the offense, as you talked about, it was just a clunky game offensively. And I don't put this one on Van Jefferson. I know that a lot of people have been asking about him, but I thought the wide receivers were fine tonight. I thought this was mostly on
Yeah.
Sean McVay. And then here's one more for Daniel Counter. Isn't the Bengals run defense one of the worst in the league?
It's early in the season, so things could be very deceiving because the Bengals have always been a very good defense overall. So, yeah, maybe there's something there to it, but it's such a small sample size. That's why, like, it's I think I wrote in my story to like it's just comical how like one game could just change the outlook of your team. And here we are now. People are from the preseason projections. Everybody's right. Oh, the Rams are nobody again because they're 1-2. Oh, the Bengals are back to being super contenders because they're 1-2. And then the week in the leading up to the game is like, oh, the Bengals, man, they're staring at 0-3. They might be cooked. Oh, those Rams, man, I had a feeling about them, even though nobody said they had a feeling about them. So it's wild how
I
things
did.
change. Yeah, you did, but it's like here we are back again, and the way I wrote the story was like, nobody gave two craps. I'll say crap about this being a Super Bowl rematch because this is two different teams from 2 years ago. The Rams are just completely different from 2 years ago, but they had some kind of like wiggle room to like play freely in Cincinnati because they won that game in Seattle. They had that moral victory with the 49ers. The team that was desperate was the Bengals. And
Yep.
again, Raheem Morris played it perfectly. Like, hey, you're the one that's desperate, man. You're the one with the back calf. You want these downfield plays that made you special, 2 years ago in the Super Bowl. Go get them because if you do, we're ready to get an interception or a takeaway, or we're gonna just play the long game where you make a mistake with a bunch of false starts, which they did with the short passes. So the defense was doing well, but then suddenly the game just turned over, and the Rams no longer have that free space, that wiggle room from what they did in week one to beat the Seahawks. Now you got a very tough game with the Colts because the tough are suddenly a very good team. Nobody knows anything, right? And then you got the Eagles after that. And the Cardinals just beat the Cowboys. So like I was the one that was the biggest, who kept pointing to the schedule. The schedule's really, really hard, but the schedule's different to what I expected. So now you're in trouble. Now you're 1-2, and you have a very tough game. So we'll see what they do.
Yeah, well, that's why it's a week to week league. It's one week we're high on the Rams, and another week, we're all high on the Colts, especially after they went on the road and beat the Ravens. I'm sure it'll be interesting. I haven't checked out the lines yet in terms of what that line is going to be for the Rams and Colts, especially with the Rams on a short week. I already saw that. I was wondering what Sean McVay was going to do. Was he going to keep the team in the Midwest? They're coming back,
Yeah.
and then they're going to come back, prepare in Thousand Oaks, and then fly back to India. I'm guessing on Sunday or Saturday. So that was an interesting decision. I wanted to see what he was going to do with that, but just getting back, I just wanted to get your final thoughts as we close out. What was a tough loss for the Rams. Now they're 1-2. They're no longer going to sneak up on teams because now they're gonna step up. Teams are gonna, hey, we're going up against the Rams. They actually have a good team. They're not trying to tank. So I just want to get your final thoughts on this loss.
Yeah, so is it? I guess one more game, right? Without potentially Cooper Cup. We'll see if he comes back after that, and hopefully
He's
for the
eligible to come back
yeah,
against the Eagles.
hopefully for the Rams' sake, this is the last game that he won't play, and he's back and ready to go for the Eagles game. But like you mentioned, Sean McVay needs to have like it might feel like a must-win game in Indy. Daniel, you're probably right about that, but I just want to see more from Sean McVay. Put these people in the right spot, and yeah, if they don't have Jackson or no boom, like, it's gonna be tough. But I'm not gonna try to give away the whole preview for House of Horns with Colts and the Rams here, but you just need some kind of better performance to get this sour taste out your mouth because that was just a terrible game from the offense in week 3. So you could somehow get away with being 2-2. You think about Cooper Cup being back, then your ideas are flowing for Sean McVay and Mike LaFleur too. We keep forgetting Mike LaFleur doesn't call the plays, but he's still a big part of the offense too. So just somehow again when you have good coaching, like I shout out the Cardinals earlier, like the Cardinals don't have that much talent, but Jonathan Gannon's doing a good job coaching these guys up. And sometimes you need a game like that to help you out. Or when you have a Stafford too, a veteran guy to lead you against a very young Colts team and a young head coach in Shane Steichen. I just want to see guys bounce back from this and be the team that's a better team because maybe we'll debate it on Wednesday, but the Rams you could think are on the same level as the Colts, probably better. So hopefully they bounce back and they do better because just today offensively, it gave me too many vibes of 2022, and I didn't like seeing that. I was like, no, I don't want to see this boring offense anymore.
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway from tonight in terms of my final thoughts is that Sean McVay isn't going to get out coached like this again. He's not going to make, this is probably one of his worst, games in terms of his decision making. You're not going to get this from Sean McVay. He's going to do a better job going forward. And then going, just getting ready for next week against the Colts, it'll be a good opportunity for him to put that behind him and be able to, coach up his players, which he's done a good job. I mean, these are one score games, Gilbert. I know that, everybody's frustrated with the loss tonight, but think about this. Before the season, 3 games in, did we think the Rams would be here at 1-2? Not a lot of us, not a lot of people thought that. And so, yeah, Joe Burrow was on one leg tonight, and you take the loss, but you move on, and now you have to, as Daniel Calderon said, you got the game. You have to win the game against the Colts. So I think that's you move on now. You put this game. It's a Monday night game. You're on a short week, and you get ready for the Colts.
Yeah, the same way the Chargers and the Bengals had pressure to win a game after being 0-2 and to like pretty much essentially save their season. The Rams don't have that because they're not facing 0-3 or whatever 0-4 because they won that game in Seattle. But people are forgetting about that victory now. So go ahead and do something. And yeah, maybe a lot of people expect it to be 0-3 because if you think about it, Seahawks, 49ers, Bengal, that is a gauntlet right there for them to have. So they're 1-2, but like I always said, Victor, you got to get at least 2 from this tough schedule where you still got the Eagles, you still got the Colts. I wasn't counting the Colts before, but now I am. So hey,
Yeah.
maybe get the Colts one. We'll see what happens with the Eagles, who are very good right now after what they did to the Buccaneers. But again, long season, but you were hoping for maybe I called it a steal on the title. Somebody didn't like my title for the the preview. But yeah, they were on an even playing field with the Bengals, and they could have had a better start. And we don't know, like the 49ers game, the Rams had a better start and they didn't really do anything for them. So I don't know, but it feels like maybe this game a better start would have made a difference.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So with that, Gilbert, let's get to our. I know on a tough loss like this, we still have to give out a 12 pack. I thought they had a good showing, especially defensively. So I'm interested to see where you go here with your 12 pack of beer for the player of the game.
Yeah, I can't hand a 24 pack of Modelo for the entire defense because they didn't win. If they won, I would say, "Hey, everybody, it's on me. Go have a beer, get that big case over there." But I'm gonna highlight the rookie. Maybe I took yours. I don't know. But Kobe Turner, from what college? I already blanked on college, but
Wake
but
Forest.
there you go. I was gonna get because I don't want to get it wrong with the other.
It's not
the other-
Tennessee. That's
yeah,
Byron Young.
I did that the last time, but Kobe Turner, man, helping out Aaron Donald like that. You could tell Aaron Donald is playing a little more free because there's guys creating pressure in the middle, and he didn't know what to expect with such a young roster. And Kobe Turner is doing his job. Looks like a nice pick for the Rams. Or have yourself a cold one.
Yeah, and you know what I was really impressed with Aaron Donald there was he was coaching them. He was telling them what to do, like when they were gonna hit the stun. And I thought even when Aaron Donald left the field, they didn't allow them to get the first. They didn't allow the Bengals to get the first down. So yeah, that was and they were stuffing the run, man. That was really good to see from. He almost got there, and then next thing you know, he was in on that sack for Kobe Turner. So really impressive. I think for me, I'm going to go with Kilo Witherspoon, just getting that first takeaway of the season for the Rams. I thought that was huge. It gives, even though this Rams defense has been really good through the first three games, and when I saw they haven't had a takeaway, I thought that also is something that you needed, just
Yeah,
for morale, for your defense, even though they've been out, in some ways have outplayed the offense. I thought that was important today to get that first takeaway of the season. And so, hey, Akilo Witherspoon, enjoy it. But Gilbert, I want to give a shout out to Daniel Calderon and Robert Smith for being in the comments. We want you guys to let us know how, get comments, submit your comments. We really appreciate the feedback, especially as we get ready to preview the Colts game. Please let us know, give us your feedback, comment, see, whatever questions. We'll try to get it on for the preview as well. If you guys have any comments, we'd love to shout you out and put you guys on the preview episode. So Gilbert, that's all I have for you today. If you want to share anything else, please do so.
yeah, no, I definitely love to see the comments, the engagement. Shout out to Dan Calderon and Robert Smith. Not sure it's the Vikings running back there, but we'll find out later. And then if you see the replay of this video, go ahead and drop the comment. We always, like to check them as well. So yeah, no, I always check out the preview show. We'll have the Colts and the Rams. Obviously, I keep forgetting the Rams name on Wednesday, and then obviously the post game show. You'll probably be back on your own there, Victor. But hopefully, I could join back again. It's always fun to jump on these, and I get more animated after watching the game before my media recap. So maybe I should probably tone it down. But it was a brutal game for the Rams. But like you mentioned, they are 1-2. You never know what could happen.
Yeah, and like now it's on to the Colts, Gilbert. And we'll see when we get that live at for the post game, because it's a 10 a.m. game. You guys need to let me know. Do you guys want your the live post game show like around 1:30, which is might be too early for you guys, or you guys let me know if you want it later on at night. That if I appreciate the feedback as well. But with that, Gilbert, oh, there's one more comment here before we go, and it's from Robert Smith.
Yeah, you are who Week 3 says you are.
There you
That is
go.
correct.
And
So
then there's also
great.
Green, Dennis Green. So now
Yeah,
I'm
I was
like,
gonna say it might be a Viking. I don't know.
yeah,
But
yeah,
then again, do you want to be who you are in week 3? Because maybe it's good for the defense. You're a good defense in week 3. You're a bad offense in week 3. So let's see if they change it. I am ready to go, Victor. Are you?
yes.
Let's
Go
move
ahead and
on.
close us out with that with your classic closing quote there, Gilbert.
Yeah, it's a classic. It's a goodie, and hopefully Sean McVay could turn the clock back for week 4 and give us some good play designs. But on that note, ya nos vamos, pues, vámonos.